All right, so today we're diving into something that has everyone talking. Crypto index ETFs.
Definitely seems like it could be the next big thing, right?
Totally. I mean, you've been following the crypto space closely, so you already know the SEC hasn't exactly been rushing to embrace crypto ETFs.
Yeah, they've been taking their sweet time, haven't they?
For sure. But even with all that hesitation, there have been some interesting moves lately that really make it seem like things could be changing.
Oh, absolutely. We're seeing a pretty big shift, I think. Even if
Wow.
it's a little cautious, regulators are starting to warm up to crypto.
Yeah, and I think Hashdex filing that paperwork to launch a crypto index ETF on the Nasdaq, that's huge.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, just hours ago, too. It's got to be big news for a reason.
Right, and it's a big deal, but we need to remember an S1 filing doesn't necessarily mean it's a done deal.
You're right. You're right. It's not a guaranteed green light. But even so, it's a big step.
Exactly, like they're knocking on the door, right?
Yeah. It shows that, at the very least, the SEC is at least a little bit open to the idea of these types of investments.
Which is huge in itself.
It really is. To
Yeah.
be clear on what an S1 actually is, it's basically a company telling the SEC, hey, we've got this investment product we think could be huge, and we think the public is ready for it.
It's like that scene in a movie where everything changes, something big is about to happen.
Totally, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And what makes Hashdex's proposed Nasdaq Crypto Index US ETF so interesting is that it would be an index fund.
Which basically means...
It'll be designed to, well, track the performance of a specific market index. In this case, that would be the Nasdaq Crypto Index.
Got it, okay. That makes sense.
And, for anyone who might not be familiar with how index funds work, it's basically a way to get exposure to a certain part of the market, a broad exposure, without having to pick and choose individual stocks or whatever.
So you're not trying to pick winners and losers, you're just...
You're just along for the ride.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense.
And it's like, think of it like the S&P 500, but for crypto.
Okay, yeah.
And that built-in diversification is really appealing to a lot of investors, especially anyone who is just starting to explore crypto.
For sure, that makes sense. So what's actually in this potential ETF? What are people going to be buying into?
So initially, it would only include two cryptocurrencies,
Okay.
Bitcoin and Ether. And the reason for that is pretty simple. It's because the Nasdaq Crypto Index itself is, at the moment, limited to those two.
So it's kind of a way to dip your toes into crypto.
Yeah, it's definitely a way to get diversified exposure, but it's within a very, very specific part of the crypto market.
Okay. So is that because of the SEC's current stance on everything?
Yeah, pretty much. Right now, they've only given the green light to Bitcoin and Ether ETFs, and that's probably why Hashdex is sticking with just those two. It's strategic.
Trying to increase their chances of getting approved.
Exactly, exactly. It's like, let's get this approved, and then we can talk about adding more.
Makes sense. It's like dipping their toes in the water before jumping in head first.
Exactly.
Now, Hashdex isn't the only one making moves in the crypto index ETF space. We've got another big name, Franklin Templeton, and they're making headlines with a really similar move. We'll get into all of that right after this. So we were just talking about Hashdex, but they aren't the only ones making a play in the crypto index ETF space, right?
You're right. There's another big player that we need to talk about. Franklin Templeton,
Yeah, they're kind of a big deal in the finance world.
to say the least.
Mm.
And they've also filed for a Bitcoin and Ether Index ETF.
Really? So it's almost the same as Hashdex's play.
Yeah, it's super similar. Initially, they're also just focusing on those two big cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin and Ether.
Huh. So you've got these two huge players, both going after what seems like the same slice of the crypto pie.
It's true.
It makes you wonder if there's something they both know that, like, the rest of us don't.
Maybe. Or, it could just be that they're both seeing the same opportunity,
Hmm.
and that opportunity is tied to the SEC, maybe, possibly, changing their stance on crypto.
Right, right. So let's say, hypothetically, the SEC is like, okay, fine, we'll approve these Bitcoin and Ether ETFs. What does that even mean for regular investors? Like for someone listening to us talk right now?
Oh, man, it could be huge,
Yeah,
like really, really big.
yeah.
Yeah. See, right now, if you want to invest in crypto, you pretty much have to go through a crypto exchange, right?
And that's how it works.
Right. But if these ETFs get approved, suddenly you could invest in crypto the same way you invest in stocks.
Oh, through like a regular brokerage account?
Exactly. You got it.
Wow. That would make crypto investing so much more accessible.
Right. It's a way lower barrier to entry.
For sure.
And that increased accessibility could really shake things up in the crypto market.
Mm.
It could lead to way more institutional investment.
Oh, interesting. So even more money flowing into crypto.
Yeah, exactly. And that could be huge for giving crypto some legitimacy as an asset class. Like, it's not just for, I don't know.
The techie people who already get it.
Yeah, exactly. It could really open things up.
Wow. So these Bitcoin and Ether ETFs, they're kind of like the first domino to fall.
It could be, yeah. I mean, think about it. If the SEC starts approving ETFs with just Bitcoin and Ether, who's to say what's next? What if they start approving ETFs with other cryptocurrencies?
Oh, wow. Like what kind of other cryptocurrencies?
It could be anything, right?
Yeah.
We could see a ton of these index funds popping up. Like, imagine an index fund that tracks DeFi projects,
That would be wild.
right? Or like metaverse projects. The possibilities are kind of endless.
So it's almost like we're seeing the very beginning of something much, much bigger.
Yeah, it's still super early. And this is all connected to an even bigger trend that we're seeing, not just with crypto.
What's that?
ETFs in general.
ETFs. What about them?
They're exploding in popularity.
Really?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Did you know that just recently, like just the other day, total assets in U.S. ETFs went over $10 trillion.
$10 trillion.
And trillion dollars.
That's insane.
It's a lot of money. And, fun fact, a pretty big chunk of that growth. Yeah, you guessed it, crypto ETFs.
Wow. So what's the deal with ETFs? Why are they suddenly so popular?
Well, they've got a lot going for them, to be honest. First of all, they're super easy to use.
Like even I could figure it out.
Exactly. Anyone can figure it out. But on top of that, they're usually way cheaper than other investments.
Okay, so they're easy to use, they're cheap.
And like we've been talking about, they offer that built-in diversification that investors love.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So it sounds like ETFs, even without all the crypto stuff, are already changing how people invest.
Yeah, for sure.
And adding in the crypto index ETFs, that just seems like a whole other level.
Definitely a whole other level. Definitely something to watch.
We'll dig a little bit deeper into all of that right after this. So we're seeing this massive wave of ETF popularity, and now crypto is joining the party. Feels like something big is brewing.
It's definitely a really interesting time to be paying attention to all of this, that's for sure. And the big question is, what does it all mean for the average investor?
Right.
ETFs could totally change how people invest in crypto.
Which is really cool when you think about it. You're already ahead of the curve just by being interested in crypto, but then you add in something like an ETF.
Yeah, exactly. You could potentially tap into that growth without having to, become a crypto expert overnight.
Right.
It goes back to that whole ease of use thing we were talking about, right? And that diversification. Instead of putting all your eggs in one basket, you're investing in a whole bunch of cryptocurrencies all at once.
It's like spreading your risk and hopefully riding that wave of crypto growth.
Exactly. And you're not spending hours and hours researching all the different coins and tokens out there.
Right, because who has time for that? It's like having your own personal crypto expert picking winners for you.
Yeah, except way, way cheaper.
Way cheaper, for sure. So what happens if, let's say the SEC keeps going down this road, approving more and more crypto ETFs beyond just Bitcoin and Ether?
Ooh, that's the million-dollar question. That would open up a ton of possibilities.
Like what kind of stuff?
Well, imagine index funds that are specifically for certain parts of the crypto market, like DeFi.
Oh, yeah. DeFi is huge right now.
Huge, right? Or like we were talking about earlier, the metaverse. Who knows what kind of crazy stuff we'll be investing in a few years from now.
So instead of just investing in like crypto in general, you could invest in very specific niches within crypto?
Yeah. It would give investors way more control, but without all the headache of picking each individual asset.
Yeah, because that's the scary part, right? Knowing which horse to bet on.
Exactly. It takes all the guesswork out of it.
This is definitely one of those things where you just have to wait and see what happens.
Absolutely. Keep your eyes peeled.
Now, here's something I was thinking about. What if these crypto index ETFs really do take off? Like, what if they become super popular, even more popular than they are now? How do you think that would change things for traditional finance?
Ooh, that's a great question. It would definitely shake things up. Institutional investors might actually start taking crypto seriously.
Which would be a huge change, right? Because they've been pretty hesitant about crypto so far.
Yeah, for sure. And, it could even force regulators to provide some much-needed clarity.
Oh, yeah, that would be huge for the crypto space in general, right?
Absolutely. It could really push crypto into the mainstream.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think that we might be watching that happen right now.
Right. It's like watching a whole new financial frontier open up in real time.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, that about wraps things up for this deep dive into the wild world of crypto index ETFs.
They're super interesting, that's for sure.
Potentially game-changing, even. Hopefully this helped demystify things a little bit, gave you something to think about.
It'll definitely be exciting to see what the future holds for all of this.
You can say that again. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We'll catch you on the next one.